Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 137 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. Today, I am excited to welcome Kati Hatfield to the podcast. Now, Kati joined Roots in July of 2018, and in 4 years, check this out, on a single income, mind you, she has paid off $86,564. Now, today, Kati returns to the Debt Free Dad podcast to give us an update on her journey and to give us an update on what she's been able to achieve over these last few years. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we're helping normal, everyday people learn how to save money and kick debt so they can live a happier and stress-free life. Now here's your host, Debt Free Dad, Brad Nelson.
Hey, how is everyone doing today? You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And of course, welcome to today's show. Remember to get all the resources, show notes, and links for today's show. You can head over to the podcast episode website, which is balancesense.com/137. That's BALANCEDCENTS.com/137. So I'm very excited to welcome our very special guest, Kati, to the show. Now, Kati is a super proud auntie to almost 4-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. Now, Kati has worked in all kinds of jobs in customer service, sales, and travel for the last 15 years, including moving to Florida in 2015 to work for the Walt Disney World Reservation Center in Tampa for 3.5 years. Now, thankfully, she says, I could work from home for the last 6+ years, and I love working in my pajamas. My lifestyle was quarantined before it was cool, she says, which I love that. In late 2018, Kati took a job at American Express. She says, yes, the credit card company, the enemy, so to speak, right? She's joking, obviously. But honestly, it has been a job that I love, combining all of my skills. And without Roots, I probably would have opened an account and be even more in debt, she adds as another little spin and joke. But instead, I'm gladly using the income to increase and to kick my debt even harder, which I love. Fun fact about me, Kati has fostered 19 dogs through various humane societies and rescue groups over the last 10 years. So, hey, Kati, welcome to the podcast, or I should say, welcome back to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Is so glad to have you back.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Brad.
Good to see you. So, for those of you who don't know, and I think we mentioned this, and by the way, if you want to hear Kati's first podcast, which I invite you to do because I think it's interesting to see the progression that people go through as they get themselves out of debt. If you want to go check out Kati's other podcasts, you can go to balancesense.com/69. It's episode number 69. If you want to look at it in any podcast platform, just look for that episode number. And that was Kati's last podcast. And that was probably, Kati is probably like 18 months ago, probably at least a little over a year ago.
It was cold. Well, I mean, that's 8 months of the year in Wisconsin, right. But it was right after I moved back to Wisconsin from Florida.
Okay. So, yeah. All right.
And now I'm in a tank top, so it's summertime. So.
Yes, it is. And it's really, really warm now. And you should be happy.
I'm ecstatic. I actually have my windows open, but they're doing work outside. So I'm like, okay, no background noise. So I turn on the AC. I never even have the AC on, even if it's 90 degrees. I love it.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Also saves money, Brad.
I love that. You're a better person than me. I've got the AC on all the time.
Thank you. I get really good circulation in my apartment, so I can just put a box fan in the hallway and it like moves air throughout, so it doesn't feel like 90.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So for those of you guys who don't know, Kati and I kind of go way back. We actually went to high school together. And
we were 14. Let's not do the math on how
I know,
long
isn't
ago
that crazy? Oh, man, it's like time just flies. I keep telling my son that he keeps saying, I can't wait till I'm a little bit older. Stop saying that. And I know we all did that when we were younger, and it's like, I just want the time to slow down, right? It's crazy.
Remember when we didn't have to pay bills?
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. So real quick, if you can you share a little bit, for those of you who haven't listened to your first episode, what were some of the things that, you struggled with the most? Obviously, you've been inside Roots now. This is your 4-year anniversary, actually, almost to the date almost now, as we're recording this. And can you share a little bit with the listeners about what were some of the things that you personally were struggling with over the years that eventually kind of brought you to the point of, saying, I need to do something about this?
Yep, definitely. So I got a credit card in college because that's what you do. You want the free t-shirt, you sign up, and it's like when you swipe a card, it doesn't really feel like you're spending money. And you're like, oh yeah, I can pay this off. And then you keep adding more to it. And you're like, okay, well, whatever, it's fine. I'll just pay the minimum and it'll take care of itself. And then it just adds up and adds up and adds up. I did have some direct sales businesses that really pushed having inventory. So I put those on a credit card and they said, you're going to make all the money back so you can pay it off. And I didn't. And then 2 of them went out of business, and I've done a lot of those. But I also was in a relationship for a very long time with someone who made a lot more money than I did. And we had to go on trips and dress the part and have nice dinners, and he did pay for some things, but there was still like, you have to go get your hair done and get your nails done. And all of those things added up. And I was just swiping my card because I didn't make that much money. So yeah, I couldn't really afford it. And it came to a point just over 4 years ago that I was making okay money, I guess, at the time, but it was just, there was more month than money left every month. And I had some medical bills, I had car repairs, I had to get a new car, and they couldn't even fudge my numbers enough to get me a loan accepted for financing. Yeah. So they had to like really, really fudge the numbers a lot. And I'm like, I can't even afford this payment. What am I going to do? And I had been talking to you and seeing what you had done on Facebook. I was like, okay, I have to do something, because I had paid off, we've talked about this, on my own, I paid off $22,000 before I joined Roots, but then I was just backsliding right into debt with all the things that came up. And when I added it up, it really was a punch in the stomach when I saw that number on paper.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit about the stress that you were dealing with? Was it stress? Like when you thought about your finances and when you were dealing with that, because man, so many people, we all, I think there's one person that I've ever met that's like, I went into debt on purpose, right? I did this to myself on purpose. It's like you wake up one day and you see all this, like you talk about that punch in the stomach, but even leading up to that, was there a lot of stress associated to it, or did you just get really good at ignoring it? Or talk a little bit about that.
I ignored it. I floated a lot of payments. So I played the game of, I hope my paycheck lands in my bank account before the check clears to pay my bills. And I was the queen of overdraft fees. The 6 months before I joined Roots, I had over $500 in overdraft fees from my bank. My best friend happened to work at my bank and was like, do you know how much you have had to pay us for not having money basically in your account for just 6 months? I haven't even gone back farther in your account. And I'm like, oh, that's I could have used $500.
Wait. So your best friend worked at the bank. How did that conversation feel?
Because I think I had actually asked her, I'm like, can you put like $20 into my account until Friday? And I just need to cover that. And she was looking at my history and she's like, oh dear, like, what are you doing? So she was very honest with me. She still is to this day. About, we're the tough love kind of friends. Like, what are you doing? Stop it. You're being stupid. So,
man, I give you credit for that. That conversation for a lot of people, it doesn't go very well.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just how we've always been. So I was okay with it. And I mean, she knew I was struggling. She could see my bank account.
Yeah. So ultimately, and you mentioned because we had been communicating kind of back and forth messages and eventually though you got to the point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna join. Was there a moment where it was just like, it's because I feel like, man, there's so many people that just sit on the fence. They know they need to do something. They know that they need to make some changes, but it's amazing how many people will still sit on the fence and things just progressively just continue to get worse. And you almost just reach that moment. Was there a moment for you where you're like, enough is enough? Was it the total that you looked at, or what was that like?
It was the car payment because I'm like, I haven't had a car payment in a while. And all of a sudden, I'm going to have to pay almost $400 a month that I don't have that much to pay the rest of my bills right now. And so I just knew I had to do something differently and I couldn't afford Roots. So I put it on a credit card. And
I didn't hear that.
I knew that I had to start doing something different and I had to put the work in no matter what it took at that point because I was not sure how I was going to pay rent and keep the lights on.
Yeah. So what have you in the last 4 years been able to do? Can you share your numbers? And then let's talk a little bit about like what were some of the things that you did to get those numbers? So can you share roughly what you've been able to save and pay off?
I have my debt-free dad planner.
There it is.
I put all of my bills and what needs to be paid off, and I have paid. I can't read backwards. $86,564 in debt paid off in 4 years. Almost exactly 4 years. Probably 4 years in like a week or something.
That is incredible. So, every time you share that, I'm just like blown away. What do you feel when you what do you feel when you see that? Because that is people like there's people who come to me and they say, how does someone like Katie get those numbers? I'm like, honestly, it's freaking amazing. Like she just did the work and people say, well, that's it. I'm like, yeah, that's really it. But how do you feel when you see that?
Yeah. So this concept, I have always said, the concept is simple. The work is not. It is difficult. I have fallen off the bandwagon. I have just completely annihilated my credit card balances and I've gone back to them a few times. I don't now. I have them set aside where I don't even like see them. And I'm one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of people. So if I don't see it, I don't think about it. But yeah, when I started this program, I was not even making $35,000 a year. So the first year that I accomplished what I did, which was like, I can't even remember now. It was crazy, but I sold a bunch of stuff. I had another business aside from my job
Yep.
That I just really hardcore pushed to do that for quite a while. Anywhere I could cut corners. I used to, it was a lot of behavioral mindset changes that you talk about in Roots because I used to wander the aisles of Target. So like, I didn't have that much money, but I was going to stores and just, that was where I would wander around and spend money. So like, that's not a habit that helps you pay off debt. Right. It puts you more into debt. And now I don't go to Target. Like I can probably count on one hand in the last year and a half. They thought that I must have died or lost my card because they have sent me letters saying, you haven't shopped here in a while. Are you okay? And here's a new card just in case you lost your other one. And I mean, that's how much I used to go that they are worried about my well-being at this point. So, I was really bad at just going to the grocery store and just grabbing all the snacks and whatever I wanted. And now I meal plan. So every little bit counts and I have a list and I try not to go hungry at the grocery store. I end up with the whole aisle 5, that whole thing. So I look at what's on sale in the grocery ads for the week and I kind of plan around that. I do a lot of creative pantry dinners with things I actually still have on hand that I don't have to run out to the store and get more items for them. So it's just all of these little things that have added up, and your 24-hour rule to wait before making any kind of impulse purchase. I used to be the queen of impulse purchasing. Yeah. I had money, it would burn a hole in my pocket. I had to spend it like immediately. Yeah. Now I don't save my payment, my card information online. So if I have to actually buy something online, I have to get up and go get my card. And 90% of the time, that's just too much work to get off the couch and go get it. So I'm just like, screw it. I don't need it.
Yeah, yeah. And that 24-hour rule, and I just saw you post on this. Someone in Roots, and this is one of the cool parts about the program, is that someone was posting and they said, I'm struggling with impulsive spending habits. And I'm an emotional spender, and you were one of the ones that commented to, say that used to be me too. And you had mentioned the 24-hour rule. So for those of you who are listening, like, what is the 24-hour rule? Simply, just wait 24 hours. If there's something that you want, just give it 24 hours. If it's not your budget or if it's not your plan, just wait. It's
half the time I forgot. Most of the time I forgot I even wanted it, or
right.
the next hour I squirrel. I have the attention span of a flea sometimes, so I'm like, I don't even remember what I wanted yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
but the rule is it's so simple, but it's so powerful at the same time, because I just saw the statistic. In fact, on a meetup we just shared this. Up to 80% of purchases are made on impulse. Up to 80%. And in grocery stores, it's 50% or plus of purchases in a grocery store are made on impulse.
Yep.
So if you're willing to just implement this rule, you're not telling yourself no, because a lot of people hate that. I don't want to tell myself no. They feel like that's restrictive or limiting. So don't tell yourself no. Just tell yourself to wait. And if that same feeling of I need to have that is there the next day, well, maybe you figure out how to way to buy it. But if not, which, like Katie said, you're more than likely not going to think about it at all. It saves you a lot of money. Love that you brought that up.
And it's a very fantastic rule. And also, I have a list. I've put a little list in my phone that if I really want something, I put it in there, and then I start to budget for it or watch for it to go on sale or something like that, just so I'm not like totally giving up on the idea. But if I go back to the list and I'm like, do I really need this? Like, I make those decisions now. It used to be like, I have to have it. And the one need is a really, really big mindset change that I used to have.
Can you share a little bit about that progression? Because obviously, you're talking about some pretty significant changes for a lot of people. And even for yourself in your own situation of being able to say no and wait and have a budget and be able to not go out to eat as much and meal plan. But obviously that doesn't all happen overnight. So can you share a little bit, because you've been doing this 4 years, like estimated time, like how long do you think it actually took you to really get comfortable and to really buy into the stuff that you were doing in order to get yourself out of debt? Because it is a journey.
Yeah. So budget is not a bad word. I know you teach that, but it's just telling your money where to go. Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't have money. It just says, okay, instead of spending it here, I really need to be spending it here for the priority of things. One of the things that you told me early on was I was debating like, okay, I have to pay off my credit card bill, but my rent is due or my electric bill is due. I can't remember which one. It was an important bill that was necessary. And your protect this house was like, pay the necessity, not your credit card bill. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And it just, that had never dawned on me before that was an option. Right. And now that I know that credit scores are just a number that tells you how good you are at debt. And if you don't need to finance anything, if you don't need to have that obsession with having a good credit score, if you have cash and savings, you don't need to have credit to finance something. So It's kind of like, why don't I just save the money I need to have in case something comes up instead of using it on a credit card or worrying about what my rate is going to be. If you don't need to get a loan, you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, so. It's interesting how much effort and energy people put into the credit score. And actually a credit score, even if you find one that's important to you and you want to have one, it's like, once you have good financial habits and you've got a plan, a credit score is so easy to maintain. It really is probably one of the easiest parts of the whole thing, because it's like it's just a natural reflection of habits and choices, keeping your debt levels to a minimum or paying them off every month. Like if once you get the habits down, it becomes so much easier. And the credit score is just like a secondary benefit if it's important to you.
It is, because in 4 years, mine has gone up 140 points.
Yeah, there you have it. Look at that. Getting out of debt and the credit score goes up. Imagine that, right?
And I don't have to worry about the actual credit cards because of it.
So not only have you reduced your debt by $85,000 plus, but you're seeing your credit score go up, and it's the best of both worlds. I see it all the time. That's unbelievable. So you shared a lot about some of the things that you've done. Now, you did this as a single person, and I hear often because again, I'm married, have dual income household. And so when people object to some of the stuff that we're talking about, they say, well, Brad, yeah, it's easy for you to talk about this. You have two incomes coming to your house. I'm a single person, and it's impossible for me to get those kinds of results. Now, here you are. You just said when you started, you were making about $35,000 a year. So can you share this journey as a single person? Because this is, I didn't do it as a single person, but you have. So you're more of an expert at this than I am. What were the challenges and things that you faced as a single person, and how did you overcome those and get to where you are?
Yeah, as a single person, you don't have a partner that you can discuss what's going on. You don't have that extra income from someone else that can help you out. And you don't really have anyone to talk to, period, because money is that taboo subject. You don't sit around talking about your debt with your friends or your family or anybody else. So Roots is huge because there's a community of like-minded people who are in the same boat or on the same journey as you, and sharing tips and recommendations of what they've done and, you know, what's worked for them. It's like, oh, there's like a lot of really great information and things that people have shared in Roots that I'm like, I don't feel alone. And that's a huge part of it. Also, it's allowed me, because I don't have as much debt as I did, and I'm on this journey, it has given me kind of a kick in the pants to take a better job and apply for better roles at my new job. And I've made significantly more money than I did when I started this, because it's given me the confidence to be like, okay, if I am applying the rules and I'm making more money, I'm just paying off my debt faster and getting to that debt freedom spot. And I have goals, actual like life goals. I want to be a snowbird and not have to live in Wisconsin in the winter and be able to go to Florida anytime I want to, because I miss the beach and palm trees and sunshine. So it's like, I have before, if you asked me, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'd be like, oh, like, I have no idea. My job was not fulfilling. It wasn't anything I enjoyed. It was just got to bring home a paycheck. And now I love my work. I get paid well to do it. And I wouldn't have taken those steps, I think, if I hadn't been pursuing debt freedom.
So what do you think? Because I find this fascinating, and you aren't the only one. I mean, heck, you look at our story and our journey. I mean, both me and my wife were working regular jobs and got out of debt, and here we are. We both run our own businesses. It's completely changed our life, and I see it in our lives. I've seen it in your life. I see it in so many of our other Roots members' lives where it has this ripple effect. They start working on their finances, they get out of debt, and all of a sudden it's like things just start getting better everywhere. Their marriages improve, their relationships improve, their careers improve, just like you had mentioned. What do you think? What do you think caused that change in you where you're like, holy crap, like I can do so much more?
I feel like you take control of a situation that you feel like maybe you didn't have control over in the past. And then you see where you can do that in other aspects of your life. Because I was stressed out all the time. Every single decision I made was based on, do I have the money to do this? Right. And now I do have the money to do this if I plan on it. And I have budgeted fun and tacos and going out sometimes with my friends, where before I was like, I can't, or I'm going to have to put it on a credit card. And then I'm just going backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah. Well, I think, you had mentioned confidence too. I think money is just such a challenging topic for so many people, including it's all of us. All of us have been challenged with it, I think. And when you're able to overcome a lot of those challenges, it's like a huge confidence boost. It's like, holy crap, if I can do this, like what else can I do? Right. Now you mentioned tacos, right? I notice how I started thinking about food now. A lot of people, in fact, I just got this email right before we jumped on here. We're doing workshop week, actually the week that we're doing this conversation here. And the email came through and the first thing that they said is, how am I supposed to get out of debt if I've already cut everything out of my life, right? You mentioned tacos. You budget for tacos. You budget for that stuff. Like, someone might think of this and say, like, well, did you have any fun the last 4 years? Did you do anything exciting? Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Because there is this misconception that you have to cut everything out of your life in order to have success. And share your experience with that.
So this year, actually, well, technically it started last year, but I have gone on my first 2 totally paid in cash, budgeted for, didn't have to like pay a credit card bill after the fact vacations, like 2-week-long vacations to Florida. The airfare, the car rental, everything was, the hotels, everything was paid for in advance. So I didn't have to worry about the money on the trip. I didn't have to worry about paying it off later. It was already like, oh, I've already budgeted for it, so it's taken care of and I don't have to worry about it. I'm like, that I'm 42 years old and this is the first time that's ever happened for me. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think, again, for the people that are out there thinking like you've got to cut everything out, it's just not what we see. Now, could you do it that way? Sure. But it's like that diet you go on, you restrict everything, and then you just self-sabotage later because you wear yourself out, right? We, in fact, encourage you to do stuff and put some fun things into your budget. If you don't, it'll just get exhausting and you're just not going to want to do it. Mindset has been huge. I want to read this real quick because you had shared this several months ago. And I just want to read this, and I want to just get your feedback on where this kind of came from. You said, I've really taken an introspective look at how much my habits over the last 3.5 years in Roots. Now that at this point, so this is about 6 months ago, 3.5 years in Roots have changed and how my life is so much different from what it is. As of today, I've paid off over, at this time, $78,562 in debt and saved countless thousands of dollars. I make better food choices, meal plans, so I'm prepared to make healthy meals at home. I'm not spending tons of money on snacks. I'm throwing away a lot less food. My physical and mental health have vastly improved because I'm just less stressed overall. I have never taken a trip that wasn't charged to a credit card. Like you just said, I already have done 2 of those trips. You now mention you can donate to charities. You buy gifts for your niece and nephew when you want to. Not when you can, but when you want to. I can pay my medical bills by writing a check out of the account that has money in it. I'm no longer floating checks or praying that my direct deposit hits early just to cover my butt. It's just, and I love this part at the end, it's just such a better overall life in general. Man, like, I just, is this not like some of the best work that you've ever done? Like, I mean, have you done anything else in your life that's made such a bigger impact on you?
No. And it was one decision to join Roots, literally. Yeah. Like my whole entire course of my life has changed drastically. It allowed me to move back home to help my family out. My sister has almost 4-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, and they're my only niece and nephew. And they were born right before COVID hit. So it was kind of like the same week as Avery, your daughter. So it was like, they were all trapped in this little apartment together, the 4 of them. And it was like, I was 1,300 miles away in Florida. And because my new job was so flexible, I could move back again and still keep my job and be around for my family. And it's just, I'm always cold, but it is 100 million% worth it. Yeah. And it's just, my stress level is so much lower than it used to be because every single aspect of my life was based around money. Yeah. Even if it doesn't seem like it, choices are huge. And I focus more on experiences than stuff, especially when you move across the country twice in 5-6 years. You accumulate so much junk and it's like, where did this all come from? So I'm trying to be more of a minimalist. I used to be a little bit of a pack rat, and I don't need to have stuff to make my life happy. It's those experiences, those memories, those kind of things that are so much more, like you can't put a price tag on those kind of experiences. So
maybe more of a little bit of a personal question, because you are dating, right? You date people, and how do you prioritize this conversation about money when you're starting to date someone, getting to know somebody? Because, we in Roots, I mean, one of the number one things we hear in the program is just getting the spouses to be on the same page. I mean, it's so number one cause of divorce is money fights and money arguments. It is a big deal, right? So having gone through this journey now, you have this kind of, let's just say, weird financial mindset compared to most other people, right? And I'm with you in that. How does that come up? Like, is it really important early on? Because we have people ask, like, when's a good time to talk about it?
If it doesn't come up on the first date, it does in the first week. For me, it's that important in my life that I need to know this is where I'm at. yes, I do have debt, but this is how much I have paid off in the last however many years now, and because I've been online dating for the whole time. And I always joke, my relationship with Brad is probably the longest relationship I've had. It's like steady, and I think about Brad every single day when I open up my little planner to check my bank account. So, but I thank you, Sarah, for sharing him with the rest of us. But yeah, I talk about it right away. I dated a guy and we had gone out, and after a week he had gone off and bought $2,000 worth of stuff. And I'm like, so if we were, further down the road, would you have consulted me before you made that kind of purchase? He's like, no, it's my money. And I'm like, okay, then. We didn't last a whole lot much longer than that. So
yeah. I love that though. I love that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. I love that you're standing up and being confident about it though, because I see so many people be passive about it. They ignore it thinking like, oh, that's not going to be that big of a deal. And it ends up being just a mess. It really, really does. And
now I can date for someone that I like, not because I need their money. I'm not having any babies. So I'm like, I have a lot of control over what I'm looking for too. And not necessarily what I need to have. I want to have someone that I want and they want me just for myself,
I love that. I'm so proud of you.
I really need them to pay the bills or something.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you, though. I mean, being independent, you're single, taking control of your finances, you're 100% control of your future now, and money is no longer dictating that. It's just an awesome accomplishment. I'm just, I always love seeing your posts, and you're often sharing roots and what it's done for you. I just think it's so cool. It's such an inspiring story, and for anyone that is struggling, I mean, Katie's just a perfect example of that. So, share a little bit. So you have talked about your career, how you've made more money, you've made that a priority, making, more money now than you were when you started, happy with your job, but you also have taken this a step further now, and you also have a side hustle and another business that you run. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that's kind of played a role in this and finances?
Especially for the last year or so, I joined a company called Epicure, which is a Canadian-based food company and cookware company. And I don't cook. I am the one who burns water, or I've burned mashed potatoes so many times, it's not even funny anymore. And the smoke alarms are tested regularly in my kitchen. This was like the last thing that anyone would have ever thought I would join, but it's 100% gluten-free, and I do have to be gluten-free for health reasons, not because of a fad or anything like that. And it's 100% gluten-free, but it comes in, I happen to be sitting at my kitchen table where I happen to have a packet, but you dump the spices in with whatever meat or veggies or pasta, and it takes less than 20 minutes to make dinner. And it's so much healthier and easier. And it maybe needs like 2 or 3 ingredients that you probably already have in your pantry or in your fridge, that it's changed my life even more in the last year. And it's groceries. So I'm also getting a discount or free stuff to eat, which makes a huge, huge difference. But like, I'm cooking real meals with meat and vegetables instead of chicken nuggets and tater tots every night was like my go-to.
Yeah.
And to also note that it's all natural ingredients, or like no chemicals or preservatives or anything. My cholesterol has always been borderline like 200s. And in the last year since I've done this, it's dropped to the 160s, which I've tried anything and everything else. And I just thought, oh, it's genetic because my dad has it too. So that's just how it is. And the last time I got my blood work done, I was like, wait, what? That's not a number that I'm used to in that particular field on the form. So and not having all the stress in my life probably also has a huge impact on that too.
Yeah, big time. So as you mentioned meal planning, because that's one thing we hear a lot too, is that a lot of single people struggle with meal planning because, a lot of the recipes and everything that's out there, it's all just geared more towards families, and they make a meal and all of a sudden it's like, well, what am I going to do with all this food? Right. Has that changed your cooking? I mean, obviously doing that business, has that helped, or like, is there any tips that you can give to anybody out there that's really helped you with that?
Well, I don't eat the processed foods. I do eat actual real meat and vegetables and fruits and things like that, which honestly should be less expensive. It isn't always.
Right.
And especially now, it's way more expensive than it used to be. But I buy like the family packs of meat, when they're on sale or if I go to Sam's Club or something. And then I just divide it out and freeze it in single or double portions. So when I make it, it's just enough for me and the leftovers, or if I have somebody over that, I'm making it for several people.
Yeah.
And then I meal plan, so I know what I'm going to use that week. So I get produce and I actually use it. I'm not throwing it away because my little bottom drawer of my refrigerator is still vegetable hospice. Like it just goes there to die. And I remember it weeks later. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember I was going to use that. But now I just put it because, out of sight, out of mind. But if I put it in the actual refrigerator shelves, I can see it and be like, oh yeah, I was going to make this. And you use it up and you don't waste it.
Yeah. Can you share, because you brought up the point that, prices are going up right now as we're doing this interview, inflation is as high as it's been in 40 plus years. Has that
been alive?
Well, yeah, right. As long as we've been alive. Obviously it affects everybody, but based on what you've been able to do, have you noticed, obviously you noticed prices going up, but has it created a lot of more stress for you, or are you just kind of taking it in and just adjusting and moving forward and still making progress?
I can just adjust because I do see it going up every time I go to the grocery store. The tab is a little bit higher, but I'm not stressed about it because I do have a little bit extra, or I do have the emergency fund or whatever. I'm not like, I have to count every single penny. I would go back to pick up pennies off the ground if I was seeing them, because I'm like, I might need this later because it was that tight. Right. And now it's like, I will pass by it unless it's silver. So
love that. Oh, I love that. So how much longer do you have left roughly, do you think, before you reach your goal?
On my current path, I would say within 2 to 3 years, just because
awesome.
I had maybe started a little crazy over the top, like I got to pay this and this and this and this, and I wasn't always allowing for fun. So I have relaxed. Now it's like, okay, I can allow myself to take a trip and actually budget money and use that money and not feel like, oh, I should have paid off a credit card with it. Like I do that now more than I did when, like, the first year or so I probably paid off $20,000 the first year, just because I was like, let's just do this. Let's just work on it. And I'm like, okay, I have to have a life and I have to have fun. So yeah, I do still have short-term sacrifices for long-term gains. So my debt is a little stretched out at the moment to probably 2 or 3 years, when I was hoping next year would be the end of this. But I see a light at the end of the tunnel, which was never there before. It used to be a train, and now it's, a wide open horizon.
Yeah. It gets addicting, doesn't it? Like, you pay that debt off, especially when you first get started. We hear that all the time. It's like, I'm almost addicted to paying it off now. It's so much fun.
As soon as I see the little notification on my phone that my bank, the deposit has gone in for my paycheck, I'm like, oh, let's go pay bills. Like, I was literally at a Brewers game the other day. I'm like, oh, I got paid. And then I'm like sitting there, like, pulling up all the apps to pay off my bills. And then like,
what an amazing change.
Get it done, and it's paid off, and then there's no late fees. And
So last question for you. You've come so far in just 4 years. And again, I think what keeps a lot of people stuck is, well, there's a lot of things that keep people stuck. Excuses, fear, fear of failure, whatever it might be. What advice would you give to the Kati 4+ years ago, knowing what you know now, knowing the journey you've gone on? What would you say to them now to hopefully encourage them to get started?
Hopefully learning before your 30s and 40s that what other people think of you really does not matter at all. That is probably the biggest thing, because I was always afraid how it would look to someone else. Like, oh, she's so far in debt. Like, that's embarrassing. Like, she has a good job and all of this. And now it's kind of like, I blast it all over Facebook when I'm like, oh, Brad's got a workshop coming up. Remember how I've talked about, like, how I'm paying off all this debt? This is how I did it. So if anybody else needs it, please, like, reach out or join Brad's workshop, because you've changed my life, and all for the better. And I thank you again. And I know I did the work, but you helped get me on the right path. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And you're right. You did do the work. And even when we show people, I mean, heck, on this podcast, people can figure out, like, hey, we're giving you everything you need. You just got to do it. And I think that's the difference right now. It's not a lack of information today. It's just a lack of taking action and doing it. And you've decided to do that. And again, you're proof that by doing that, you can change your situation, change your entire life. And so awesome to always have you on. Thank you so much for taking some time with us and sharing this. It's, again, every time I see your posts, it's just so inspiring to see how far you've come. And not only that, but now you're inspiring other people, which is so cool. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And I'm happy to talk to anyone. I'm a real person. I have gone through all the struggles, and I'm happy to answer questions or be like, how did you do that? And we share in Roots. That's a big part of it. The community, that camaraderie, the accountability. Just like I've made friends from all over the country and all over North America that I've never even met in person, but we like check in with each other just because we did have that bond in Roots.
Yeah. So awesome. Thanks so much, Katie.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Yep.
Hey, if you love planners, this is for you. But you know why planners frustrate me? Because they only really get it half right. Now, sure, they're really good and fancy about helping you manage your time, which is really important, obviously. That's what a planner's for. But where they get it wrong is money, the second most valuable resource in our lives. Most planners don't include any financial planning, things like, keeping track of paydays, bills, due dates, spending, yearly expenses, budgets, cash flow planning, debt elimination plans, and goal planning, right? None of that stuff. That's a real pain. And then what? Then you got to create your own in some silly binder, right? And who has time for all of that stuff? So instead, what happens? Nothing, right? A lot of people tend to ignore their finances even more, and things only get worse. Well, that all ends today because I am so excited to announce and release my brand new, totally awesome Debt Freedom Planner. This thing's awesome, by the way. Now, before you say, Brad, I've already got a planner. This is not an ordinary day planner. This is the Debt Freedom Planner, which is a companion tool that works with your day planner, and it's built to help you manage your money, pay off more debt, and melt away financial stress. And I believe this is the tool that a lot of people who want to take control of their finances have been waiting for. So head on over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu to get access to your planner today.
Hey, what's this I see? I thought this was a party! Let's
All right, you guys know what that sound means. It's time for the celebrations of the show. And again, just a huge shout out to Katie for joining us once again on the Debt Free Dad podcast. It's always a pleasure to have her on, and what she's been able to overcome, and the fact that she's remained consistent with this for the last 4 years now, and to be able to pay off $85,000 plus now on a single income. It's impressive, and she's come a long way, and she deserves every bit of success that she has earned, and it is just so exciting. So thank you so much, Katie, for being here. I want to kick it off with Trisha Jordan. She says, I unsubscribed to all sale emails and deleted all shopping apps off of my phone. Trisha, this is an awesome way to cut back on distractions. If you're really trying to stick to your plan and there are some things that are always tempting you, cutting back on some of these distractions is such a great way to limit your temptation for impulsive and wasteful spending. Trisha, awesome win. Great job. Jill Brown, thanks to overtime, I have increased my income by 25% so far just this year. Not to mention the gas savings by working at home. Jill, fantastic win. Talk about sacrifice a lot. Short-term sacrifice for long-term gains, and that's going to pay off big in your debt payoff plan. Jill, congratulations to you. Kelly Tyson, have to pay $316 up front for my hubby's surgery. But here's the thing. We have the cash, and we have enough in our emergency fund now to cover it. Kelly, fantastic win. The importance of having the emergency fund there. Great win, Kelly. Congratulations to you guys. Brenda Philhauer, I am doing great at budgeting. The other two programs that I tried were just complicated and confusing, but thanks to you for showing me just how easy budgeting can be, and I'm sticking with it. I am actually not getting late notices or late fees right now. That is awesome, Brenda. Congratulations to you. And budgeting, there are processes that are a little easier than others. I'm glad that you're finding that this is easy. But again, for all of you who are out there, budgeting is a learned habit. It just takes time, takes practice, takes consistency. And the more you do it, the better you get. Brendan, I'm so excited that you're getting some of those wins. Mary Southard, planning our cash vacation, not going far, and going to also do some school shopping while we are away. 2 birds with 1 stone, Mary. Congratulations. Enjoy that cash vacation. So excited for you. And congratulations to all of you guys who are getting some great wins at getting yourselves to less financial stress and less financial worry and less debt. You guys are doing a fantastic job. And hey, if you're just getting started with our podcast, or maybe you've been listening for some time and you're interested in how you can get started on the road to financial freedom without having to go through our well over 130 plus episodes to figure this out, just head over to the website, balancesense.com or therealdebtfreedad.com, and sign up for my free Life Without Payments workshop. In this workshop, I'm going to walk you through and show you the first steps that have helped tens of thousands of people just like you and I kick financial stress and worry for good. Hey, and thanks for hanging out with us here today. We love your guys' feedback, and it also helps us grow our podcast, so please leave us an honest review. We read every single one of those, and as you guys know, the Debt Free Dad podcast is here to help you live a happier and stress-free financial life. So if you know someone in your life that could benefit from our show, hey, please give us a share. We appreciate you, and we will see you guys on an upcoming episode. Take care.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us here today. We love your feedback, and it also helps us grow our YouTube show. So please give us a like or leave us some honest feedback on this video. And if you want the latest from the show, obviously be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel. And for the latest resources, or if you want more information on how to kick debt and financial stress, please be sure to check out the links in this video or head over to therealdebtfreedad.com. We'll see you guys on an upcoming show. Take care.